GTA publisher Take-Two plans to have microtransactions in all future games. Awesome. Fantastic. By the way, shout out to one of my subscribers, friends, member of the GeauxBurns stream team, Chaotic. He has a channel as well over in the featured channel section. And he brought this up to me whenever I was doing some creating yesterday. I have something planned for the live stream coming up on Saturday. We're going to be doing Dogfight, the new adversary mode in Grand Theft Auto Online. But most of us are not really excited about Dogfight. We'll do it anyways, for as long as we can tolerate it. But I'm creating an actual, dogfight mode. Something that might feel more apropos for anyone that's wanting to do some dogfighting in Grand Theft Auto Online. I'm using the creator to make a team deathmatch. I may make two of them. I've got one finished. I'm thinking about making a second one. We'll see if I have time between now and Saturday. I may do that. But anyways, he brought this to my attention, this article. By the way, it's not just on IGN. It's on several other gaming news outlets as well. I just went with IGN because why not? Link below in the description section. Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick has said that his company, which publishes games like Grand Theft Auto 5 and NBA 2K, will aim to offer quote-unquote recurrent consumer spending opportunities, microtransactions. Basically, that's what that translates to. In all games going forward. Yay! Like we don't have enough of that in other games from other publishers, right? In an investor call, as just described by the Game of Sutra, Zelnick explained that, quote-unquote, we aim to have recurrent consumer spending opportunities for every title that we put out at this company. It may not always be online model. It probably won't always be virtual currency model, but there will be some ability to engage in an ongoing basis with our titles after release across the board, quote-unquote. There's a good reason for that. Zelnick says that the recurrent consumer spending accounts for 42% of Take-Two's earnings in the last quarter. He calls it, quote-unquote, a sea change in our business and transformative. I would not say it's changed for the better, to be honest. By the way, I'm making this a discuss video. I know I did a discuss video yesterday about my impressions regarding Xbox One, but I'm kind of, I guess, changing my discuss series to where I do try to put out a discuss video every week, but if there's a topic that comes up that falls into the discuss category, then you may get more than one discuss video a week. I don't know. It just depends on, how the gaming news comes out, right? Like stories like this shit. Continuing, quote unquote, the business once upon a time, he explains, Strauss Zelnick, CEO of Take-Two, was a big chunky opportunity to engage in 10 of hours to perhaps hundreds of hours. That has turned into an ongoing engagement day after day, week after week. You fall in love with these titles and they become a part of your daily life. One of the things we learned is if we create a robust opportunity and a robust world in which people can play delightfully in a bigger and bigger way, that they will keep coming back and they will engage, and there is an opportunity to monetize that engagement, he continued. There's a lot of room for growth. This is just the beginning. And as they point out in the article from IGN, linked below in the description section, it's a pandemic that's happening throughout the entire gaming industry with Shadow of War, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Call of Duty World War II as well. Sadly, that list goes on. And they also mentioned NBA 2K, which caught a lot of flack from various other gamers out there, including one of my friends, Carrick, over at ACG. I'm part of his international podcast. And that was something, he got really irked about whenever he did the review for NBA 2K. The latest NBA 2K game was how obvious and how awful the monetization is in, these games. Not just from Take-Two, but from a lot of the other developers and publishers as well. And it's sad because once upon a time, earlier on in the channel, when the Shark Cards actually purchased a great deal more items in the game, and it was a lot easier to grind in Grand Theft Auto Online in order to make money for the supercars, for the apartments, for anything else that came out. I was one of those that defended shark cards because at the time it wasn't too difficult to earn enough money in the game without buying shark cards in order to buy the new supercar or the new thing. But as time has progressed, items have become more expensive in Grand Theft Auto Online, and it's become a lot more difficult to grind. Even if you do have businesses and other opportunities to make money in the game, it's still going up against the fact that the content they're putting in the game now just costs way more. And it's something we've talked about in previous discuss videos as well as rant videos, like case in point with the Vigilante. Like, okay, the Vigilante is cool, he has a Batmobile vibe to it, but you're not just paying that $3.7 million for the Batmobile, which I might add, you would say is roughly $50 in real life money, because $8 million in the game equates to $100 US, because that's how much it costs for an $8 million shark card, aka the Megalodon. So basically, in this video game, you're buying a $50 Batmobile on a game that you spent $60 for. Yeah, just chew on that for a few minutes. So yeah, it's not just the Vigilante. It's also the fact that in order to customize the Vigilante, you have to have a bunker, and you have to have the MOC in the bunker, and you have to have a vehicle workshop in the MOC. So that's millions more dollars you're going to have to spend first before you can actually buy the Vigilante in order to properly customize it. So yeah, unfortunately, it's become very apparent that companies like Take-Two, the publisher of Rockstar games, and various other developers, publishers out there in the gaming industry are really pushing microtransactions in their video games. And it's sad. I mean, I don't know why this is the way it is. Is it because these are greedy corporations? Is it because games are becoming more expensive to make, and the $60 per video game doesn't cover all the costs like it once did, because there is inflation. Unfortunately, the value of a dollar isn't what it used to be, and maybe they're trying to counterbalance that. Maybe it's the stockholders. It could be a variety of issues as to why all these publishers like Take-Two, EA, Activision are doing this. And the problem is, gamers only have so much money to give. I mean, unless you're rich and you just love gaming and you don't have a problem with buying a Megalodon here and Megalodon there, the average gamer can't do that. The average gamer also doesn't have the time to grind in a game like Grand Theft Auto Online in order to get the millions of dollars to buy the new attack helicopter or the new supercar or the new business or the new thing that comes out in the next DLC. So they're either left out in the cold because they can't get that thing that they want, and it makes them feel like that they're not part of the community anymore because other people are getting that particular item. And so they get tired of playing the game. They get tired of feeling the monetization push when it comes to the microtransactions of shark cards. And sadly, that's going to be a reality in Red Dead Online, which will most likely be the online version of Red Dead Redemption 2 coming out in the spring. I'm very excited for Red Dead Redemption 2, but this continuing push towards further microtransactions in video games is really troublesome. And I don't know why video game publishers can't be happy with the fact that they're already making millions of dollars off these games. And maybe, like I said, maybe it's not a simple thing as greed. Maybe it's, the fact that video games cost more to make now. I don't know what the answer is, but I will say this, that if you continue to push microtransactions on the gaming community, when the gaming community can only spend so much money a year on video games, eventually you're going to microtransaction gamers from certain games. And certain people are just going to be like, you know what? I'm just not going to play this game anymore because I cannot afford to play it. It's enough that I dropped $60 on this game, but now you're expecting me to drop, another $5, another $10, another $20, another $100. And it doesn't end. It just keeps going. I mean, Grand Theft Auto Online is a perfect example because, shark cards have existed since the launch of the game, October 2013. Going on over 4 years now. And it's become worse. Whereas back then, it didn't feel like Rockstar was putting a gun to your head when it came to shark cards. It just felt like an alternative. If you didn't want to grind and you had the money, then you could just get a shark card. But if you had some time and you could, over the weekend, get hundreds of thousands of dollars or $1 million or $2 million bucks from, doing missions or even heists when Heist came out, yeah, you could afford it that way without ever buying a shark card. But unfortunately, that's just not the case anymore in Grand Theft Auto Online, and it's sad because whereas Rockstar claimed that they didn't want to divide the community, it feels like, in a way, the shark cards are, because you're dividing it between the haves and the have-nots. Those that can afford shark cards, they're getting all the cool stuff. And those that can't afford the shark cards, they're being left behind because most of them have real lives. They got work, they got school, they got other real life obligations, and they just don't have the time to grind. I mean, maybe when Grand Theft Auto Online was new and fresh 4 years ago, it was cool to go in grinding and doing these contact missions over and over again because they were new, or doing the death matches, the races, the survivals, and eventually heists when they came out. But it's not new anymore. And, I mean, perfect example is the latest adversary mode. I mean, yeah, you can earn double money doing Dogfight, but to be honest, Dogfight sucks. It's a horrible adversary mode, and as you can tell, I'm not exactly excited about live streaming it Saturday, but I'm going to because, I said I would. And, I always like to live stream the new adversary modes, the good ones and the bad ones, especially with the stream team, because, we'll try to have a good time. And like I said, I have a backup plan in place. I'm going to have that ready to go by Saturday. Worst case scenario, we're going to move on to my death matches that I'm working on. Going old school, thanks to the creator, right? And at the very least, it gives me something to rant about on Sunday. So, yeah, I think eventually you're going to see a breaking point when it comes to microtransactions in games. And the reality is a gamer is going to start being more picky and more choosy about the games he and she decide to buy. Whereas before microtransactions, Joe or Jane could buy more video games because they had the money to buy, say, 5 video games a year or 10 video games a year. But if they're having to buy a video game for $60 US and then on top of that buy shark cards or loot crates or loot boxes or whatever sort of microtransaction scheme has come with that game, that means they're spending more than $60 on one game. And sometimes that price can quickly fluctuate to even higher than what the video game was. And so that means that, yes, a gamer has to basically invest themselves, their time, their effort into one game. And sometimes even more money into that game. And that means that they're going to be less inclined to purchase other games, or they're going to say, fuck you, microtransactions. And they're going to go find video games that don't have microtransactions, or at the very least have, lesser microtransactions where it's not as big of a problem. Like, case in point, Dead by Daylight, which is why I got Dead by Daylight in the video right now. With microtransactions in Dead by Daylight, there are some, packs that you can buy. Like there's a charity pack, but that money went to charity. There's some different clothing packs as well, but there's also killer packs, right? And you pay a few bucks for a new killer, like last year Michael Myers, recently Leatherface, as well as Freddy Krueger. But you're getting unique killers, and you're getting a survivor to go with that killer. But there's already quote unquote like several free killers in the game and several free survivors in the game. And, it allows you to basically play two games in one, either as a survivor or as a killer. And, playing the game, has a different style depending on the killer you play and depending on the different perks and leveling up and going up against better players as you get better. So there you see how it actually works for a video game like Dead by Daylight, which, by the way, is a cheap game. It only costed, what was it, $20, I think? I think that's what it costed me when I purchased it. So I would say that so far, even though I haven't been playing Dead by Daylight that long, I feel like I've gotten my money out of Dead by Daylight, even though I've only bought two killers, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, and the charity pack, as opposed to, constantly having to shell out money for the new content in Grand Theft Auto Online, because as a content creator and as a Grand Theft Auto fan, I feel compelled to get the new stuff and at the very least show my subscribers, viewers, and fans everything so that they know what to buy and what not to buy, exactly what they're going to get if they end up purchasing the new aircraft or the new supercar or the new business or the new whatever comes out in the future. At least that way I can, I guess, kind of like be a buffer, a middleman, one of many middlemen out there, fellow content creators. Hopefully guiding our subscribers, letting them know, like, hey, this is a pretty decent item. This one sucks. It's not worth your time or your money. So hopefully some good is coming of that. But at the same time, it is sad that we see a lot of microtransactions transpiring in video games right now via all this nonsense. And what's sad is, from the article that we just went over, once again in the description section, according to Strauss Zelnick, when it comes to Take-Two and most likely other publishers for the various AAA developers out there, sadly, microtransactions are not going to be going away anytime soon. But if there's enough of a backlash from the community, sooner or later, you may see a reckoning when it comes to, how much microtransactions gamers are going to take and how much we're going to spend, because eventually I feel like something's got to give. And like I said, most gamers are not made of money, and there's going to be a breaking point, and hard choices will have to be made, and it's going to cause some developers, maybe even some publishers, to crash because they became over dependent on microtransactions. And maybe that's a good thing, because that allows other more like aspiring developers to rise up that aren't trying to, suck the, all the monies out of their communities through every little nickel and dime microtransaction scheme that they come up with, whether it's in loot crates, loot boxes, or sadly with shark cards, or with whatever is coming when Red Dead Redemption 2 and Red Dead Online come out in spring 2018. By the way, let me know below in the comments section, what are your thoughts regarding this issue? Microtransactions, going to be basically in all future Take-Two games if, Strauss Zelnick has his way. That means all the games under 2K, all the games under Rockstar, probably even Hangar 13 as well. Their future games, in some capacity, going to have microtransactions. How do you feel about this? And how do you feel about microtransactions in general? Do you think that under some circumstances it's okay, it's acceptable? Or do you feel like that publishers and developers are going too far when it comes to nickel and diming the gaming community? Feel free and let me know your thoughts below in the comments section.